Most people hear the word Wagyu and immediately think of the best steak in the world. They picture perfect marbling, a luxury restaurant, a tiny piece of beef with an insane price tag, and they assume that if it says Wagyu, it must be better than everything else on the menu. But that is exactly where the mistake begins, because Wagyu is not always Japanese. It is not always A5, it is not always Kobe, and it is definitely not always worth the price. You can see the word Wagyu on a steakhouse menu, pay serious money for it, and still have no idea what you are actually buying. So, before you spend money on the most expensive beef in the room, you need to understand what Wagyu really means, why it looks so different, why some of it costs more than gold by weight, and why the most expensive version is not always the best choice for a real steak dinner. By the end of this video, you will know the difference between real luxury beef and expensive marketing. And more importantly, you will know exactly what to ask before you ever buy Wagyu. The first thing people need to understand is that Wagyu is not a steak cut. Ribeye is a cut. Filet mignon is a cut. New York strip is a cut. A tomahawk is basically a ribeye with a long bone left attached. But Wagyu is different because Wagyu tells you about the cattle, not the exact part of the animal. The word Wagyu comes from Japan. Wa means Japanese and Gyu means cattle. So when a menu says Wagyu, it is not automatically telling you whether the steak is a ribeye, a strip, a filet, or something else. It is telling you that the beef comes from Wagyu cattle, or at least from cattle with Wagyu genetics. That means you can have a Wagyu ribeye, a Wagyu strip steak, a Wagyu filet, or even Wagyu brisket. And this is where the confusion starts. People see the word Wagyu and think they already know what they are getting, but the word alone is not enough. If a restaurant or butcher only says Wagyu steak, you still need to ask more questions. What cut is it? Where did it come from? Is it Japanese, American, or Australian? What grade is it? How much marbling does it actually have? Because without those answers, because you might not be paying for the steak you think you are buying. The reason Wagyu became famous is obvious the moment you see it. The meat looks almost unreal because the fat is not sitting only around the outside. It runs through the muscle in thin white lines, almost like the beef was drawn with marble. That is why people stop scrolling when they see a close-up of A5 Wagyu. It does not look like normal steak. Those white lines are called marbling, and with high-end Wagyu, marbling is the whole story. This is intramuscular fat, which means the fat is spread inside the meat itself. When that fat warms up, it slowly melts into the beef, giving it a soft texture, a rich mouthfeel, and that buttery flavor people talk about when they describe Wagyu. But here is the part most people do not expect. More marbling does not automatically mean a better steak dinner. It means more richness, more fat, and a very different eating experience. And if you want to understand why some people call Wagyu the best beef on earth while others try it once and say it is too fatty, stay with this, because that difference matters before you spend serious money on it. A regular ribeye is already rich, juicy, and beefy, especially when it has good marbling. But A5 Wagyu can be so intense that eating a huge steak-sized portion can feel overwhelming. That is why real Japanese Wagyu is often served in smaller pieces. It is not meant to be attacked like a giant cowboy steak over fire. It is meant to be experienced in a few perfect bites. And this is exactly why understanding Wagyu matters. If you expect a big smoky steak dinner, you might be disappointed by the most expensive beef in the room. But if you understand that Wagyu is more about richness, texture, fat quality, and luxury, then you start to see why people pay so much for it. And if you like videos that break down meat without the marketing nonsense, this is the kind of thing we dig into on this channel. Now let's talk about the label that makes Wagyu sound even more expensive, A5. For a lot of people, A5 feels like the final boss of beef. If it says A5, they assume it must be the best steak possible. But A5 does not simply mean the best steak for you. It means the beef reached the highest level in a specific Japanese grading system. In simple terms, the letter and the number mean two different things. The letter is connected to yield, which is about how much usable meat comes from the animal. The number is connected to quality, and that includes things like marbling, color, texture, firmness, and fat quality. So when you see A5, you are looking at the highest Japanese grade, but that grade is not judging the steak the same way a hungry person at a barbecue judges dinner. That is the key. A5 rewards intense marbling and fat quality, which is why A5 Wagyu can look so extreme. It can be incredibly soft, rich, and luxurious, but that does not automatically mean it is the perfect choice if what you really want is a thick steak with smoke, crust, and a big beefy bite. This is where people get fooled by the price. They think the most expensive version must be the best version, but the truth is more complicated. The best Wagyu for a small luxury tasting might not be the best Wagyu for a real steak dinner. And near the end, I'll show you the simple question that can save you from paying premium money for the wrong kind of Wagyu. So yes, A5 is special. It can be one of the most impressive beef experiences in the world. But if you buy it expecting it to act like a normal ribeye, you might walk away thinking it is too fatty, too rich, or just not what you expected. That does not mean the Wagyu failed. It means you bought the wrong experience. Japanese Wagyu and American Wagyu are not the same experience, and this is probably the most important difference for people in the United States and Canada. A lot of buyers see the word Wagyu and assume it means one specific thing, but the version you see in a steakhouse in America is often very different from a true Japanese A5 tasting. American Wagyu is not automatically fake. That is a mistake people make on the other side. In many cases, American Wagyu comes from cattle with Wagyu genetics crossed with Angus or other breeds. The result is beef that usually has more marbling than regular supermarket steak, but not the same extreme fat level as Japanese A5. And for many steak lovers, that can actually be a good thing. Japanese A5 is rich, soft, buttery, and intense. It is more like a luxury experience than a normal steak dinner. American Wagyu, on the other hand, can feel more familiar. It still gives you more marbling, more richness, and more tenderness than regular beef, but it usually keeps more of that classic big steak feeling. The easiest way to understand it is this. Japanese A5 is an experience. American Wagyu is dinner. If you want a few perfect bites of something extremely rich, Japanese A5 can be incredible. But if you want a thick ribeye over charcoal with smoke, crust, and a real beefy chew, American Wagyu might actually make more sense. This is why the word Wagyu alone is dangerous. It sounds like one product, but it can mean very different things depending on the country, the breed, the grade, and the cut. And if you do not understand that difference, you might spend Japanese A5 money while expecting American steak satisfaction, or you might dismiss American Wagyu because it is not as extreme as the Japanese version. Neither one is automatically better for every person. The real question is not which one is more expensive. The real question is which one matches what I actually want to eat. And then there is the word that makes everything even more confusing: Kobe. A lot of people use Kobe and Wagyu like they mean the same thing, but they do not. This is one of the biggest reasons people overpay for beef, because the words sound powerful, expensive, and rare, but they are not interchangeable. The simple version is this: all Kobe beef is Wagyu, but not all Wagyu is Kobe. Kobe beef comes from a very specific type of Wagyu cattle raised under strict rules in Japan, connected to the Hyogo region. Real Kobe beef has standards, certification, and traceability. It is not just any expensive steak with good marbling. That means when you see Kobe style on a menu, you should slow down for a second. Kobe style does not automatically mean real Kobe beef. It can mean the restaurant is using the word to describe a style, a luxury feeling, or a marketing idea. The meat might still be good, but it is not the same thing as certified Kobe beef. This is where the most interesting part starts to build. Wagyu, A5, Kobe, Japanese, American, Australian, every label changes what you are actually buying. And near the end, when we put all of this together, the difference becomes simple. There is one question that matters more than the price, more than the name, and even more than the marbling. Because the real danger is not that Wagyu is overpriced. The real danger is paying for a word without knowing what that word means. A steakhouse menu can make beef sound like a rare treasure, but if it does not tell you the origin, the grade, the cut, and whether it is actually certified, then you are buying a story before you are buying a steak. So if you ever see Kobe, Kobe style, Wagyu style, or premium Wagyu on a menu, do not get impressed too fast. Those words can mean something real, but they can also hide important details. And the more expensive the steak is, the more those details matter. So why does Wagyu cost so much in the first place? The answer is not just flavor. If it were only about taste, the price would be much easier to understand. But Wagyu is expensive because many different things are stacked on top of each other. Genetics, feeding, time, quality control, grading, limited supply, import costs, restaurant markup, and status. The genetics matter because Wagyu cattle are known for their ability to develop intense intramuscular fat. That is not something you can create with a simple trick at the end. It is built into the animal, and then it is supported by how the cattle are raised, the feeding program, the time it takes to grow the animal, and the strict control behind the product all become part of the final price. Then you add rarity. Real Japanese Wagyu is not unlimited. The most famous versions are controlled, graded, documented, and exported in limited amounts. By the time that beef reaches a restaurant or a butcher shop in North America, the price has already been shaped by transportation, certification, handling, and demand. But there is another part that people do not like to admit: status. Wagyu became one of the most famous luxury foods in the world. Once a food becomes a status symbol, the price is not only about the meat anymore. It is about the story, the rarity, the reputation, and the feeling of saying you tried it. That does not mean the price is fake. Real high-end Wagyu can be expensive for real reasons, but expensive does not always mean it is the right steak for you. If you want a small, unforgettable luxury bite, the price might make sense. But if you want a big smoky steak over charcoal, a prime ribeye or American Wagyu ribeye might give you more satisfaction for the money. This is the part that cuts through the hype. That is the part that cuts through the hype. The best steak is not always the most expensive steak. The best steak is the one that matches what you actually want to eat. If you do buy Wagyu, the next mistake is treating it like normal beef. This is where people can ruin the experience even after buying a great piece of meat. They take something extremely rich, extremely fatty, and extremely delicate, and then they handle it like a regular thick steak that needs heavy seasoning, strong smoke, and a long, aggressive cook. High-quality Wagyu does not need to be buried under marinades. It does not need a mountain of spices. It does not need heavy sauce to make it interesting. The fat is already doing most of the work. With the best Wagyu, the goal is not to cover the flavor. The goal is to let the beef show what makes it different. That is why salt is often enough. Small portions make more sense. A quick sear can be better than a long cook. And if it is Japanese A5, you usually do not need a giant steak on the plate. You need a few perfect bites that show the texture, the fat, and the richness without overwhelming you. This is why Wagyu can disappoint people who expect the wrong thing. They buy it like a steak, but they should experience it like luxury beef. There is a difference. A normal steak dinner is about hunger, fire, crust, smoke, and a big piece of meat. A Japanese A5 tasting is about richness, texture, and balance in a much smaller portion. And this is also why American Wagyu can be a smarter choice for some people. If your dream is a big steak on charcoal, American Wagyu can give you more marbling and richness while still behaving more like the steak experience you already love. It sits between normal beef and Japanese A5, and for a barbecue audience, that middle ground can be very powerful. So before you cook or order Wagyu, think about what you actually want. Do you want a luxury tasting that feels different from every steak you have ever had? Or do you want a big, beefy, smoky dinner? Both can be amazing, but they are not the same meal. So now we get to the real question. Is Wagyu actually worth the money? The honest answer is that it depends on what you expect. That sounds simple, but this is the part most people skip. They ask, is Wagyu good? When the better question is, good for what? Wagyu is worth it if you understand what you are buying. It is worth it if you want a unique luxury experience. If you are buying real Japanese Wagyu, real A5, or high-quality American Wagyu from a trusted source. It is worth it if you know that Japanese A5 is rich, fatty, intense, and usually better in small portions. But Wagyu is not worth it if you are only buying the word. It is not worth it if the menu gives you no details. It is not worth it if you think the most expensive steak automatically has to be your favorite steak. And it might not be worth it if all you really want is a big piece of beef over fire. This is the secret that matters more than the price tag. Before you buy Wagyu, do not ask only how much it costs. Ask what kind of Wagyu it is. That one question changes everything. Is it Japanese, American, or Australian? What grade is it? What cut is it? Is it real Kobe or just Kobe style? Is it meant to be eaten as a luxury tasting or as a real steak dinner? Because once you ask that question, you stop buying hype and start buying the right piece of beef. A small Japanese A5 tasting can be worth it if you want something rare and unforgettable. A thick American Wagyu ribeye can be worth it if you want a better version of the steak dinner you already love. And a regular prime ribeye can still beat both of them if what you really want is smoke, crust, and a big beefy bite. That is why Wagyu is not a shortcut to the best steak. It is a different kind of steak, and if you understand that, you will enjoy it a lot more because you will stop expecting every expensive piece of beef to do the same job. The next time you see Wagyu on a menu, do not get impressed by the word alone. Ask where it came from. Ask what grade it is. Ask what cut it is. Ask if it is Japanese, American, or Australian. Ask if it is real Kobe or just Kobe style. And most importantly, ask yourself what you actually want from that meal. If you want a rare luxury experience, then real Japanese A5 might be exactly what you are looking for. It can give you a few bites that feel completely different from normal beef. It is rich, soft, intense, and memorable. But if you want a full steak dinner with fire, smoke, crust, and a big satisfying bite, then the most expensive Wagyu in the room might not be the best choice. That is the truth people miss. Wagyu can be incredible, but it is not automatically better for every person, every meal, or every grill. The name is powerful, but the details matter more. The origin matters. The grade matters. The cut matters. The way you plan to eat it matters. So do not buy Wagyu just because it sounds expensive. Buy it because you understand what it is, what it is not, and what kind of experience it is supposed to give you. That is how you stop paying for marketing and start paying for meat that actually makes sense. Now tell me in the comments, would you rather try real Japanese A5 Wagyu? Or would you choose a big ribeye over charcoal? And if you want more videos about steak, beef cuts, barbecue, meat myths, and expensive food people keep misunderstanding, subscribe to Mike the Meat Master.